mainstay. I am still here at Thomann, the fantastic Synth Reactor gathering of YouTubers. And there's a number of vintage pieces that are lying around. And while there are a lot of companies who graciously are here offering their new wares for us to explore, I can't help myself, and there's a vintage synth. And there's a sad story. This is the Roland Promars. It is the one that looks like a Jupiter 4, but is actually monophonic. I once was going to get one of these on eBay way back in the early aughts. And I was so confident I was going to win because I bid really high on it. And I didn't win it. And so I've had this sadness because they don't come around very often. I've only seen a couple of them in my life. So when I saw that there was one here, I'm like, I have to demonstrate this. However, I will say I have almost no experience with it. And it's got some really interesting, weird architecture. So you and I are going to explore it together. So I don't want to see mean comments when there's something going weird and I'm like, why is it doing that? You're going to be like, well, Mark, obviously it's... Okay, no, you've never done that. You would never do that to me. Okay, seriously though, it's a fantastic two-oscillator kind of monosynth. And it was the time in Roland before Roland got as slick as Roland got. This is late 70s, so it still has kind of this great aesthetic. And the functionality is really cool. It's just kind of the last point when it was super cool and 70s looking, which appeals greatly to me. Okay, I'll stop talking because I know how much the internet loves that. I'm going to dig right in and we'll see where we're at. The whole thing's going to be kind of exploratory and we'll just start. Okay, so the dual VCO thing is really bizarre. I'm not sure. Your VCO2 controls are over here in this weird realm where you have two different tunings for VCO2, and that's really unique. But I don't think you have the opportunity to set the oscillator for VCO2. I'm going to guess that you get the same waveform setting as in VCO1. So let's just see how this whole thing works. There's something interesting happening there. I'm not sure what it is, but let's. That is the square wave. Let's have a listen to the sawtooth wave. That sounds the same. It's interesting. Okay, first we can turn it off. Coming from. See, already it's turned into a nightmare. Okay, there's a sub-oscillator that's currently on. Okay, now's the real start. That other start was the fake start. Okay, we get nothing. We have to turn oscillator 1 on. We get this nice traditional sawtooth sound, which is very nice. And here's the square wave. It's a big square wave. And then we have pulse width modulation with the typical Roland setup where you can either manually do your pulse width modulation, which everybody always does, because you have your own signature style of pulse width now. Basically, it allows you to set the pulse width, and then you can choose automated pulse width modulation, which we'll do both right now. It's on manual. Oh, that's the wrong thing. So we're hearing the different widths of the pulse. It's relatively subtle, actually. But then we can turn on the modulation. We're getting some modulation of the pitch that we don't want. Let me see if I can figure out how to make that go away. It shouldn't necessarily be happening. Yeah, that's interesting. Might be something that is actually broken because it doesn't do us any good to have pulse width modulation that is also pitch modulation. But maybe I will discover why that's happening a little bit later, but we'll move on. Okay, let's listen to the range. It would appear that, okay, we do have a transpose switch down here at the bottom. So it's currently set to 1 octave down, so these are going to be the lowest notes you're going to get. And then we can move up. And of course, if we switch this transpose up to normal, we're probably going to get another octave up there. So we can hear some of these other waves in the high range. That's square. Oh, I see. There is actually modulation happening. Ah, that's the thing. I figured it out. So when you have it set to mod, the LFO is directed directly to the switch. Ah, so when you have it set to manual, you get these pulse width settings that are static. Then when you have it set to mod, you get pulse width modulation on all of these settings. And I'm guessing the rate is controlled by the LFO. That's true. That's cool. I'm so glad we've solved that mystery. Okay, we also have a sub-oscillator, which is typically a division of the first oscillator that's through the process of dividing down gives you an octave lower. And this is no exception. So we're getting a pretty serious low end on there. I was kind of concerned because like the oscillator itself doesn't go low, but you can certainly kick in that sub oscillator and get low. So let's dig into the mystery of oscillator 2. So over here, like I showed you, there is this VCO2 area over here, far, far away from the other VCO settings, that simply has a switch that says off and then has 2 different tunings that you can choose. This is a kind of a cool idea that I've never seen anywhere else. So I guess when we turn this on, we're going to get oscillator 2, and I don't know what wave shape oscillator 2 is going to be set to. Maybe the same as the VCO1. Sounds like. Yes. Okay, so it's kind of not 2 oscillators. It's like kind of 1 oscillator, but 2. I don't know. It's kind of like what you get on a polyphonic synthesizer when you have, 6 notes, but they all play the same oscillator wave and the same octave and everything. That's kind of the thing that's happening here. So we can tune it. Ow, quite a bit. That's cool. That's a bigger range. I guess I expected something smaller than that. So there's that interval, and then in the other one, so you could have octaves. And then go straight into prog land with the B tuning setting. Anyway, it's a really unique sort of, you get the benefit of 2 oscillators, but not all of the benefits you typically would get with 2 oscillators, but enough that you can plainly hear 2 oscillators. And I'm sure you can certainly set this to just the tuning to get, the coursing effect that occurs when 2 oscillators are not quite in tune.